everyone, it's Laurie
and Gracie.
So we hope this video finds you all healthy and well and happy. We are filming this on Thanksgiving weekend 2017.
Yep.
And we wanted to take the opportunity to kind of do a walkthrough of a deck, which is a little bit unusual.
Yes.
Although someone told me, I met someone in Kelly's chat who said he already has this deck and that he's done a walkthrough on his channel. Although I couldn't find it, but that he's already done a walkthrough. I looked, I couldn't find it. I'll have to look again.
Okay.
So the name of the deck that we're going to do a walkthrough of
is Bridge Witches.
It's called the Bridge Witches. And this is a deck that I backed kind of as it was a crowdfunded, I think. It was not on Kickstarter, it was on Facebook. But I backed it because it's local, and the artist is local in Pittsburgh, which is where we live, and I like the idea behind it, and I like to back. Yeah. I like to back local artists and stuff like that when possible.
So you can find it, I think, here on killerpancake.com.
And I bought this for you, but you haven't had a chance to use it very much.
No, not yet. Because
you kind of wanted to keep it all together so we could do a video.
Yes.
That's the downside of all of this YouTubing. Alrighty, so let me tell you a little bit about this Bridge Witches here. The artist name is, let me see, I wrote it down. The artist is a woman named Genevieve Barbie Turner. She's also known as Killer Pancake, but the Killer Pancake is what she wanted to do was a retelling of the Rider-Waite that specifically illustrated people and places in the city of Pittsburgh. So she used different suits, which we'll show you in a minute. She used, I guess we'll show that when we come up to it.
Sure.
Let me take this. I'm reading from the Little White Book, which is actually huge. It comes as a PDF download, and then you print it out. This would be my one complaint. I probably shouldn't start out with a complaint, but the Little White Book is large, so it's printed on full-sized 8.5 by 11 paper, but the print is really small compared to the all of this white space.
Yes.
And we tried to print 2 pages
per sheet.
This way, 2 pages per sheet, and we couldn't because the font was just too tiny.
It was illegible.
So, I mean, if I had one complaint, it would be maybe just that the font was bigger and that the picture was maybe, you know, here and the font was around it, and maybe even that it could fit two on a page so that it could be printed in a smaller format than this. But those are just picky things. The Fool begins with nothing and ends with the world. Bridge Witches Tarot is an effort to combine a deep appreciation for a witchy path of wisdom with the many and diverse communities within the city of Pittsburgh. Oh, look, one more thing I'll add is the artist says, I have found that the traditional tarot deck doesn't reflect my lived experience nor that of others around me. And in the same vein, I find the narrative of the city of Pittsburgh is one that historically overlooks the contributions of people of color, the LGBTQI community, those living with physical or behavioral differences. And each card in Bridge Witches features a character based on actual people that are living in Pittsburgh today or a part of Pittsburgh's history.
Oh.
So
fun.
She put a ton of work into it.
Yeah.
And her, we could probably start showing the majors.
Okay.
So she starts out, the Fool is a
portrait.
It's a self-portrait of the artist. So that is Genevieve. And let's see. And she says, when I want everyone to pick up this deck and to see a part of themselves reflected in it. I love that. Look at that Empress. Isn't she beautiful?
She is beautiful.
And it's really, really modern and interesting. You might want to go a little closer on that one. Is that the Emperor? Or are they out of order?
That is the Emperor. Nope, they're in order.
Okay. I can't help but caution that I tried my best. I used research at the Heinz History Center, conversations collected over many years, consultations with writers and tarot reader Erin Nyheiser and Corinne Kenner,
love this card,
of tarot and astrology to put together a balance of an old and new tarot. She also talked about that she tried to tell stories from some of the neighborhoods and people who maybe weren't well known. So maybe when people think of Pittsburgh, they might think of like Andrew Carnegie, or they, you know, on libraries, or they might think of sports teams or things like that. She wanted to tell the story of people who lived on the margins and everyday people who may not be very well known.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of cool.
And she put so much, I think, of the little histories into this.
There are little histories. Why don't you, maybe not that one. What's the next one?
The tower?
Let's go with the sun, because I love that story.
Okay.
When you get to the sun, so.
Okay.
The sun card,
Sorry.
that's the moon. Okay, here's the sun
There you
card.
go.
And so it's not a naked baby on a horse. It's I believe it's a differently abled young man. And he's in front of some bridges, and I'll just read it to you. So, sun, she says it means fame and recognition, physical or emotional vitality. And in the shadow side, lack of humility or an oppressive attitude. And she says here that the sun reveals everything it gazes upon and calls attention to itself with its existence. It can be difficult to feel noticed without this gaze, even if it is at many times glaring or oppressive. Everything seems to center around the sun, for better or for worse. Our closest star can also represent our ego and inner enlightenment. That rose window, shown in the card, is in St. Stanislaus's church in the Strip District. The Strip District, which is not what it sounds like.
No actual stripping.
No, it's very nice. It's the wholesale market, foods.
Sort of like a shopping district.
It's a shopping district, but it's really like freewheeling, and there's just like
Local.
Street markets, local street vendors, food on the streets. It's a lot of. It used to be former warehouses and wholesalers and things like that now sell to the public.
Yeah.
And restaurants and things like that. So let's keep reading. St. Stanislaus's Church in the Strip District, which has captured my attention since moving to Pittsburgh in 2003. In fact, if you come to visit Pittsburgh, you should definitely go to the Strip District.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's great. Places to eat, cool stuff to see, people to see. It just really, it's
really
fun.
interesting stuff to buy.
Interesting stuff to buy. Yeah, it's just it's a neat, but it doesn't matter. The westward-facing window captures late light, holding the sun just a bit longer before it slips past the hills. And this imagery is something that I have carried with me as I've traveled across the world, and it's one of the reasons that I miss Pittsburgh whenever I am away. The 16th Street Bridge, which is behind the man, is an iconic one for the city. As the Gothic Revival architecture found in our beautiful churches and cathedrals, that's what makes Pittsburgh feel like a European burg. That and our oppressive heteronormic white blue-collar identity. Okay. So anyway, that's a really beautiful star card, and I think it goes to show you what sort of detail and story there is
To each card.
To each card, yeah, which is pretty cool. Okay, so judgment. That's I think we talked about that card before because you liked it, huh? So yeah, we talked about before that it's a tunnel.
Yes. Tunnels sometimes do feel like a trial.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that world card. See if I can get the glare off of it. Oh, that's fun. Look, the designs on her shoulders look like the bridges when you're driving on them.
Yeah, there's a whole story behind that one as well. The world alludes to the ancient god Janus, who usually is depicted with two heads, one looking past and one future. This goddess looks only west into the unknown. And we have basically say our lives are built from cycles that start and end and repeat again. Friend of the world card, Saturn is a symbol of order and death, always playing by the natural rules of inevitability, set into motion millennia ago. And with this in mind, it's still possible and imperative that our world evolves. The first spin this planet took revealed something very different from the 4 millionth spin. And as new people come to the table, the establishment changes and is meant to be ever-changing. And she goes on talking about some different things like that. That's the Fort Pitt Bridge that people often see when they first enter the city, and then you've got kind of the skyline, the Pittsburgh skyline back there. So that's neat. Now, the minor arcana, she relabeled. Do you want to grab one? How about the trees?
Sure.
So there in the city of Pittsburgh, there's kind of like the city center, which is shaped like a triangle because there's rivers, two rivers that make a third river. So it's called a confluence. It's drawing a complete blank for a minute. It's called a confluence of rivers, and So you've got that city, but then you've got the different portions of the city where people work and live in their neighborhoods and things like that. There's the North Hills and the South Hills, and then there's the East Hills, and then there's the West. And so what she decided to do with the minor arcana is divide it up into those areas of the city. And trees. This suit is the spring season, and it shows scenes from the east end of Pittsburgh. It incorporates themes of spiritual energy, creativity, and the element of fire. So that is the three of, this is wands. So this is wands, yeah. And so she has little stories. You can see for each of the minors. I can't see if I'm getting glare or not.
You're not getting glare.
So each of the minors. Okay, yeah, why don't you keep going? I love the Queen of Wands. I'm going to start reading to her. It's about conversation that comes easily and fast friendships. A woman sitting next to me in a physical rehab facility in the East End was regaling me with stories about her travels. A native Pittsburgher, she, quote, partied all over and recounted a tale about New Year's Eve in 1984 in Toronto. She glowed, regardless of what she talked about, and I could have listened to her all day. It just felt good to have someone to be friendly with. While we prepared for our physical therapy sessions, this is the essence of the Queen of Trees. So it made sense to place her here, but every single day she dances in the street, bringing the sun with her.
Wow, that's really beautiful.
Okay, so that was the trees, which was wands. Yep. Fences is winter time. It's the northern neighborhoods of Pittsburgh, and I think it's swords. I think fences is swords.
Does it say?
I'm pretty sure I looked somewhere. Hang on, let me just check the front here. Oh, here we go. Fences are swords, cicadas are pentacles, trees are wands, and cups are cups. So yeah, fences are swords.
Aesthetically, I just love this deck. Ah, there's the famous Pittsburgh parking chair.
The parking chair is what people use. You can keep going through. I'll just say it's kind of famous. It's probably that way other places, but you know, if you park on the street in front of your house and you go out and shovel a spot, and then you go to work or something like that, and then you come home and someone's parked in your spot because they didn't bother to shovel theirs. So people will shovel their spot, and then they put a summer chair, like a lawn chair, in the street. And like that's what I'm saying. Yeah, don't
park there.
Don't park there. That's my spot. So that's called the parking chair. It's a thing. It's a Pittsburgh thing. So that was fences.
Fences. Cicadas. Next?
Cicadas represents pentacles. It evokes the theme of summer, and it features the southern neighborhood of Pittsburgh. So there's a lot of different people. And she explains about all of them. She tells stories like her grandfather was a funeral director, and you know, there's some stories there, and stories about different people she's met along the way. The King of Cicadas, who I think is coming up next. Yep. The King of Cicadas is also the King of Earth, the element not of the earth, and a master of familial and material wealth. A programmer with a heart of gold. I don't know what a programmer is.
I don't
know either. The programmer with a heart of gold. He uses his knowledge for good and doesn't use the word disrupt to describe anything he is working on. His crown is made of basil and chamomile, and his staff is etched with material things that he believes will protect and sustain his brood. It's about solid, level-headed kind of leadership. So it's kind of an interesting take on it. And then the final suit is cups. This suit celebrates autumn, and the Pittsburgh's West End, with themes of domicile, emotional consciousness, relationships, and community connections. And this is the area of the city that we live in. So what's kind of neat is looking through this one is we were able to recognize a lot of things that we're particularly familiar with. Although it's a pretty moderately sized city.
Mm-hmm.
We're familiar with most things, most places, but it's especially nice to see things that are unique to your area of the city.
Yeah.
Let me see. So did you get to the 9 yet?
I'm on 8. So.
Okay. So the 9 of Cups. The 9 of Cups is usually the wish card. And this one is the team you want to win will definitely win. Each of these shot glasses features a shout out to local bars in the West End. Sports can really bring people together, but when it's at the cost of anyone's health or well-being, it is damaging. A team can replace individual identity because at the end of the day, it's just a game. Let's live or play or speculate another day. That being said, when the Birds win in triple overtime and the streets are flooded with cheering and joy, it's a pretty cool vibe. This will be the only reference to Pittsburgh sports in this deck. Who are the Birds?
Does she mean the Penguins?
Oh yeah, she probably couldn't say the Penguins.
Probably not.
Are penguins birds?
Yes, they are. That's the hockey team.
Yeah, I knew it was the hockey team. I just didn't know.
I was explaining for other people who don't know that's the hockey team.
I didn't know.
I've never heard them called the Birds.
She probably couldn't say the name of the sports team.
I guess not.
She had to kind of.
She could have just
hint
said
at it.
hockey. I don't know.
Yeah, she probably could have. I've never heard them called the Birds. I wasn't even sure if they were like mammals, like platypuses.
Oh, no, penguins are birds, I'm pretty sure.
I'm sorry.
They're just flightless.
You should cut that out. Where I'm looking imbecilic about
No, you're fine.
the bird family.
You're fine.
And so that's Cups. I hope this isn't too loud with all my wrestling with the paper.
I don't think so. It's the final card. You have seen the whole deck now. Now, I just say impressions. I really like the deck. I love the art style. I think it's super modern.
It's very urban.
It's extremely urban, which I really like. Do you want to?
It reminds me of like the Urban Tarot.
Yeah.
The what is the Silicon Dawn a little bit maybe?
I'm not familiar with that deck, so I couldn't say. But yeah, I just love I feel like the art style really encompasses like this time period right now, because I see a lot of art with that smooth lines and heavy use of contrasting colors. Like there we've got the red and the blue and things like that.
This is the Popess, so this is the Hierophant.
No, that's the
High Priestess.
High Priestess.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
That's the High Priestess.
I thought it was the Hierophant too, but I had to look it up. I also like how the deck has a very like summery feel to it. It reminds me a lot of the Bonefire Tarot, where it's got that modern, fiery, summery, but at night sort of feel to it. So I feel like I'm going to be enjoying playing with this. I'm going to get probably the majority of my use out of it during the summer.
It does feel very, like summer evening, like a summer night.
Did we already go through the death card? 'Cause I love that card. I wanted to show that one. There it is. Love the death card, because if you want to know like the little things about this is that Pittsburgh is a city where
Ooh, why don't you put that up again?
The original Night of the Living Dead was filmed here. We have an abandoned highway and an abandoned highway tunnel, which have been two filming locations used.
Night of the Living Dead was an early horror movie. Was it in the 60s or 70s?
Yeah, it was. I think they consider it sort of one of the first zombie movies.
And George Romero was the name of the director.
It's a cult classic.
It's kind of a cult, yeah.
That was filmed here.
So do you want to put that up there? Because
Sure.
I like what she writes about. The amount of places in Pittsburgh to be hip and get sweaty has been on the rise. At one time, the options were limited to the YMCA, exclusive private clubs, and creepy gyms with bulky dudes. But now we do a lot of yoga, boxed up in some superheated white walls with our faces down on pine floors. The best part is realizing that you're working out in something that was once a bar or maybe a boutique or an art gallery or a shop, but definitely something that you shopped at maybe one time, a long time ago. In 15 years, you will be back again when it is reborn when that building is reborn into a fusion restaurant owned by Big Burrito.
Yeah.
Death is part of a cycle. Things begin and they must end. And this card is an ode to all of the hip neighborhoods of then and now and tomorrow. Shine while you can before the cold pressed coffee is gone and your juicer has run dry. So my zombie yoga instructor rocks her grateful tank I saw hanging loosely in the window of a Butler Street yoga studio about 18 months ago. She eats kale from a locally sourced wreath above her head. And she smokes a cigarette. Maybe that's her worst vice. Her scythe is an ode to Polish farmers who decorated their handles to praise God for the annual harvest. She's not Polish, but she looks cool. And she says she can't create a tarot deck about Pittsburgh without including zombies because it's a thing. I think the zombie run might have started here.
That sounds right. A lot of zombie movies have been filmed here just because of the location. I think that's pretty cool.
It's cool. It's zombie thing. So
I like that though because you do see that a lot where you have Pittsburgh is kind of a city of buildings being constantly reborn into different things, and you're always like, you'll be driving down the street and be like, oh, that used to be a factory, and then it was abandoned, and now it's a a coffee shop.
And I think in a lot of
restaurant.
I think because of the way the city is set up, where bits of it were put in, and then other bits of it were built around it. So it wasn't a planned city. It's a mess to drive around.
You can't even drive it with a GPS.
It's extremely confusing. And it's very hilly, so there are a lot of bridges. I think there's more bridges in Pittsburgh than in any other city.
Mm-hmm. That's why we're the city of bridges.
United States,
and that's
maybe the world. I don't know, but there's like a lot of bridges.
Last time I read it was the world, and that was because they classified bridges as anything going over something else. It wasn't just bridges over water.
But there's a lot of water.
There's a lot of water. And a lot of bridges over water.
Yeah, and so because of the nature of it, you can't just like in some other places, you can't just tear something down and then just put a Walmart there. Mm-hmm. So in Pittsburgh, if you've got a building that used to be a church, it gets repurposed into something else, like a bar or a nightclub.
There's a lot of those.
If you have a building that used to be a volunteer fire department, it gets repurposed into a restaurant.
Yeah.
Buildings that used to be breweries get repurposed into apartments. So lots of things end up getting, the skeleton remains and the things are repurposed just because of the nature of the city, which is really, I think it's cool.
I think it's neat too
that,
because a lot of times it preserves the historical importance of a lot of different places that are around Pittsburgh.
Yeah. I think that this deck is usable for anybody. Just like the Urban Tarot is specifically New York, but I think it works for anybody. And I think you could see from the images that this deck kind of works for anybody, and it really is I think it's one of the most diverse decks
I would say so.
I have seen yet. Mm-hmm. So
but to us, it holds a little special piece because it's our city.
Yeah, so. It's special to us because it's local, but the diversity is
incredible.
It's everywhere. It's and
every single card. And
in the book, there are discussions about people from all different walks of life, and all different kinds of people, including people struggling with addiction issues and just.
It's a very modern deck.
It's an extremely modern, very, very diverse, very interesting deck, and I think it's going to read. And that is a beautiful, beautiful card.
Those are the backs.
Those are the backs.
I might have to etch this in purple. I think that would look really nice.
There we go. If you have any questions that we can help you with, go ahead and ask.
Yeah.
And we'll try to put all the information below. We hope you have enjoyed this walkthrough. Yeah. It's kind of slow. I think we're a little bit like put. I don't know. We're a bit dopey after Thanksgiving maybe, and getting back in the swing of things. So yeah, that's all right. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much for watching.
Thank you.
And
we'll see you soon.
Bye.